Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got myself into this situation. They say life can be difficult sometimes, but on our planet it only occasionally gets easy, just to smack you in the face while you're unprepared. I used to be an inventor, you know, invented a few moderately successful technologies, and yet only one quick ambush job to cover my debts was enough to put an end to all my life dreams. How did this happen, you ask? Well, it all started when the 3 colonists landed on our planet a few months ago. What's poppin', gamers? Skye here, and today I want to officially begin a new series on my channel to take a break from reviewing Hunt Down the Freeman for a while. I highly enjoy playing RimWorld as it is a great story generator with its colorful characters and crazy twists. And this is the story I want to share with you. Cassandra Classic. What could be better than having a balanced, increasing curve of difficulty that would allow me to enjoy a balanced adventure with all of its highs and lows? Fortunately, we'll not be doing that. Random is the only option in RimWorld. Remember, life will not give you a balanced experience. Life is a chaotic whirlwind of events, and you can never know when it is going to strike. Of course, I decided to choose the Strive to Survive difficulty and the Commitment mode. After all, you cannot write an interesting story if there are no stakes. At least, that is what I've been thinking at the time. I was mentally prepared for anything Randy was about to throw at me. However, what he had actually ended up doing to the colony was the thing I would have never expected from him. After choosing my seed, I was presented with the world our story will be set in and its major players. It was only fair to select a random crashing site, as real survivors would unlikely have a privilege of choosing. By the way, about them: Peter Entwistle, age 28, male, a war refugee who escaped his home world with his family at a young age, seeking a better life. Having no citizenship in his new country, he was unable to receive a proper education, leaving him and his brothers with the only choice of becoming a gardener at an aristocratic mansion. This left him with a good understanding of the gardening craft, yet no skills at any sciences. Entwistle is a hard-working man with a recurring desire to eat, which had never been a problem to him before, as his pretty face easily charmed the females at the mansion's kitchen. Skye Lorne, age 24, female, lost her parents in an industrial accident when she was a child. Having no possible guardians, according to her government's laws, was sent to the orphans' labor camp and spent years there until reaching adulthood. The only thing that was accessible to her in that place and was not taken by the crew wardens were her few female friends. After that, however, their paths diverged, as she decided to pursue a law enforcement career. Having no connections or money, her only choice was to become a prison guard, where she quickly learned not to trust the male prisoners who could do anything to her if she wasn't keen enough. Since then, she has serious issues with trusting men in general. At the same time, she's incredibly durable and able to take high amounts of damage without severe consequences. Alyssa Sparkles Orchard, age 37, female, originally known as Alex. Alyssa went through a surgery at a young age to become a female. Even before that, she never fit in well with the other boys and preferred creative activities over physical, such as sports. After reaching her adulthood, Alyssa decided to pursue her interest of becoming a jeweler. After mastering her craft, she left her planet to sell her wares throughout the galaxy. Alyssa had a naturally powerful immune system that has always helped her with surviving the illnesses and prefers a quick-paced lifestyle to the annoyance of everyone around her. The other survivors that were left behind also were randomized by me completely, without even looking at the results. I have traveled by trains before and sadly had no option to choose the other passengers, so neither did our heroes. And maybe one day they will get to know these people better. Press the like button, leave a comment under this video, and I will choose the names for future colonists among the commenters. As the new colony of survivors lands on the planet, we immediately start our preparations. As the unit with the most military experience, Skye is given the hunting rifle and the title of sheriff. All of her jobs involve physical labor and her military knowledge. She is the warden of this colony and the hunter, occasionally resorting to building and mining as well. The other weapon, an old revolver, is given to Sparkles, despite her lacking any fighting knowledge or experience. With the exception of constructing, Sparkles' responsibilities involve crafting various items, be that tailoring, smithing, or even art. Entwistle is the only person incapable of any violence. His main duty is to keep the colony fed. This includes both cooking and gardening. Now, when every colonist has a job to perform, they can start building their new home. Actually, the list of colonists does not end here. Entwistle brought a dog with himself, named Buddy. Luckily for him, she survived the crash landing and was now accompanying the settlers into their new journey. Who knows, when trained, maybe she'll play her part in the story. Skye and Sparkles start working in a tandem, building a house for them to live in, while Entwistle is busy with planting rice on their small improvised field. Would you look at that? It has not even been a day and Entwistle is already engaged in a relationship with Sparkles. That was surprisingly fast for me. So far, most of my stories involved a lot of denying for months and romantic frustration. Well, after all, Entwistle is a handsome young man with an attractive jawline. And I have to add that it spared the need to create more rooms, as both Entwistle and Sparkles now desire to live together. As our fellow women are hardly working to build the house, Entwistle decides to have a rest and meditate under a tree. Maybe not the best time, but who can blame him? Nature often pushes people towards thinking about your life and re-evaluating your life values. The outside world can wait. Concentrate on maintaining the world that is inside you. By 8 p.m. the colonists finished building their first house, and in my opinion, it turned out quite well. Every person had their own room, and due to romantic relationship, we still have a spare room just in case. Indeed, it has not been an easy day. These people had to cope with the idea of being separated from their old lives, having to start everything over. For some, it might have been a chance, for others, a disaster, but for now, they all deserved a rest. As the new day came, so were the new duties. The newly established colony did not have a functioning storage yet, so constructing one was a priority for now. Another issue was the lack of proper eating space. That wasn't a big problem as Sparkles quickly built a table and a few chairs. Our colony is a responsible settlement that needs to have a dump to keep all of the trash there. What could be a better place than right here, by the lake? Come on, every great civilization did so, what's wrong with that? The second day was also quite tiresome for the colonists, and what could be better than some… What? What is this? Are they… sexing? Now, as all of the colony's urgent needs are satisfied, they must address the rising need for defenses. After all, Randy Random is a tough bastard that takes pleasure in tormenting colonies. That is why Sparkles and Skye received an order to build up the barricades around the base. These barricades will provide them with a better cover when required. In the meantime, they have started planning a prison cell for the future. It doesn't have to be anything luxurious, or pretty, or decent, or even bearable, or the minimum. A small room in the mountain with no light or bed. That is how we do it. On the fourth day, everything was going well. Every colonist was happy with how things were going so far, especially Entwistle and Sparkles, as their love eased any of the difficulties they were facing. Though difficulties would be quite a strong word to characterize what they were going through. The rice crops were steadily growing, colonists still had a ton of rations to sustain themselves in the meantime. Skye started hunting the local hares for their fur and meat. Because so far the colony lacked any crafting stations or any place to put them, it was decided that a crafting facility is built by the storage. In the meantime, the spring ended and the first day of summer warmed the colonists with its gentle touch of the sun rays. Everything was going unbelievably great, and even the psychic drone that negatively affects males was barely an inconvenience for the happy Entwistle. After the crafting facility was roughly finished, the two most important crafting stations were placed inside: a butchering table and an art bench. It was up to Sparkles to put her inspiration into good use. She decided to choose steel as the material for the statue and began the hard work. The bench lacked all of the comfortabilities she had back in her jewelry on her home planet, but the fact of creating something delicate on a bench again gave her an immense amount of enjoyment. As Entwistle was cooking the simple meals for the colony, he was thinking about their current situation. Initially, the idea didn't come to his head, but in fact, they were stuck on this planet. There is nobody to evacuate them, and it is unlikely that anybody will come here to do that. And if their colony is to stay, doesn't it need a name? What would be the name though? The need for a name struck me unexpectedly. Of course, it was going to happen eventually, but I had no ideas how to name it. The name had to be memorable and comical at the same time, yet not too obnoxious or cringy. After a minute of thinking, an idea came to my head: the Sex Commonwealth. I am still unsure whether I should be proud or ashamed of it. The capital city would be known as Edinburgh. The sculpture is finished. There it is, in all of its glory. On this work is a portrayal of a priest holding a sledgehammer. A monkey floats beneath the main subject. The work is shaded in hues of white and red. Gore. It is beautiful. Such a masterpiece is worth nothing less than to decorate the most prestige museums in the galaxy. The colonists will settle for the living block for now though. As the next day came, Skye and Entwistle happened to have their breakfast at the same time. They were casually chatting when something unexpected happened. Skye Lawn, the known misandrist, who would not dare to approach a male unless it is critically necessary, tried flirting with Entwistle. It is important to note that by that time they already had a budding friendship, even in spite of their differences. However, no one expected her to flirt with Entwistle by implying good things about her sexual prowess. Entwistle, however, did not respond. Skye had to settle for the sex moans and gasps at night, which she could clearly hear through the thin wooden walls when lying in her bed alone. Getting a transgender MILF chosen over you can be a crushing experience. An experience that, however, did not affect her hunting skills. Holy fuck, Skye, you shot off its jaw. Just finish her already. Look at the bloodbath you've made here. The neighbors will take us for eldritch horror summoners if you keep hunting like that. However, for now, everything is calm. Too calm. I checked the narrator in case I made a mistake. But no, it still was Randy, still on the strive to survive difficulty. Perhaps he is not the chaotic evil we've all thought he was. Maybe Randy can be a good person after all. On the 5th day of summer, a distress call was sent to the colonists. Tower Prorussos, a known aristocrat, was asking the Sex Commonwealth for help. He and his guards were ambushed by a man-hunting hare. He was the only survivor. For our help, he promises to grant one of our colonists an aristocratic rank of Yeoman. After considering the potential danger, the colonists decide to help, but who would take the title? Entwistle is a nobleman by the nature, but his jobs involve much physical labor, which he could not carry out as an aristocrat. Sparkles is a good candidate, but her combat abilities are barely existent, which makes most of the combat-oriented psychic royal abilities quite useless for her. Seems like Skye is the best candidate after all. Let's just hope that the colonists never get to capture a male prisoner for his own well-being. Finally, the manhunting hare appears. Skye quickly grabs the rifle and tries to engage in combat.
But I've got a job to do.
Soon after, a shuttle appears and picks up Tower. Skye is promised to be given a title in the near future whenever she requests it. I went forward and accidentally ordered the ceremony immediately.
I'm ready.
Standing by. Right on. Go, go, go. Somebody call for an exterminator?
As soon as the Skye finished healing, she went to the ceremony. Luckily, the Yeoman title does not require a special throne room, which allowed her to receive the rank on spot. The new title granted Skye the psychic power of stunning. She'll get to test it during her next battle. The prison cell was decided to be drastically expanded. However, it was primarily done to harvest more minerals from the mountain. The 8th of December 5500 AD, a new pack of rice finally grew, so Entwistle proceeded to gather the crops. The amount of rice was so big it barely fit into the storage, so it was decided to shorten the rice fields in favor of other plants, specifically herbal roots, as the colonists' medkits were not infinite. With this amount of rice, Entwistle was finally able to use more ingredients for a single meal and switched to cooking fine meals instead of simple. This will eventually take a positive effect on the colony and the mood of its inhabitants. While Skye was busy with hunting and Entwistle dealt with the food surplus, Sparkles was tasked with creating more sculptures to decorate the individual bedrooms, as the colonists were frequently complaining about how their bedrooms looked visually unappealing. Her second sculpture once again turned out to be a masterpiece, this time even without any inspiration. On this sculpture is an image of a cone surrounded by rectangles, picture of honesty. Oh god, so it was serious after all. Sparkles had just proposed to Entwistle. The ceremony is about to happen in the coming days. I'm so excited. Even in this difficult world, on this wild planet, love can prosper. Thanks to her high mood, Sparkles has experienced an inspiration. This gave her an opportunity to tame one animal, regardless of its difficulty. She started looking around the colony to find a proper specimen for taming. My first idea was to tame the mega sloth that was constantly peacefully roaming around the colony for the past few days. Imagine how cool having one of these would be. Maybe it would be able to fight for other colonists. Sadly, despite giving a 100 taming chance, inspiration still did not allow Sparkles to domesticate those above her handling level. What I was about to do may have not been a good idea, but it was an interesting idea. Boomalope 1 has become a part of the colony. I decided not to give it a name and instead propose you to choose a name for it in the comment section under this video. An ancient danger. That is not pleasant. For now, the colony is safe as long as the miners do not attempt digging this building. However, if they ever tried to, the colony would face a danger it might not overcome. I'm sure this place will play its role in the future, but for now, the colonists decided they need to start brewing beer. As the first step, they would need to expand their garden and plant some hops. That hadn't been a problem whatsoever. The real problem for them was their inability to build a brewery, even with their high construction skills, because the technology still was unresearched, and the only person capable of researching anything, having 0 research points out of 20, was Sparkles. Entwistle had no proper intellectual education whatsoever, and Skye's education hardly could be considered intellectual. Right, guess no beer for now. A solar eclipse happened, a beautiful sight, that is for sure. Since the colony was doing well, the residents decided to spend their time improving the prison conditions. Surely torturing your captives in a cold cave with no light or bed is funnier, but they required new recruits, and many of these recruits would be taken from the prisoners. And what prisoner wouldn't want to join a colony if their cell looks better than their tribal house back home? The worst thing that Randy was able to scrap for the colony around these days was a pack of manhunting dark raiders. You already know how that went. On the first day of April-May, Sparkles finished her wooden sculpture. This work resembles dozens of stingrays milling around uncertainly in darkness, twilight blanketing a nearby mountain. A village of spectators watches the sky peacefully. This image relates to an eclipse over Sparkle's campsite on 14th of December 5500. The next day, the colonists were contacted by a man named Debans. Debans requested their help in exchange for joining the colony. He was lying incapacitated and unable to move, so there was no way he would be able to make it out alone. The colonists started considering this option. Surely, they required a new team member, especially a team member that could do research for them, as they still had no idea how to make a brewery. On the other hand, it would be a dangerous journey, both for the rescue team and the ones who would stay behind. If they were to send anyone unable to protect themselves, that person would too likely fall prey to the evils of the planet. If they were to send out Skye, the colony itself would remain unprotected. Eventually, they decided the risk was worth the shot, especially considering how safe it had been up until now. Skye was sent out for rescue, while Entwistle and Sparkles stayed to care over the colony. While Entwistle was busy with the garden and cooking, Sparkles had a significant progress with the prison. Now it was comfortable, had some illumination, a proper bed, a bedside table, and even a beautiful statue. Right now Sparkles is working on the polished walls to impede a trap. Oh no, an ambush had been laid for Skye at the Debans location. Bucky from the Dolonau faction. However, Skye herself is a tough nut. Bucky's desire for quick money will be punished today. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got myself into this situation. And there she was, Rachel Bucky Snow, lying in the ground with her nose shot off, bleeding immensely. She was experiencing her entire life in a pre-mortem state, remembering how she tended to her mother when she was ill and ran their family store. If only anyone were to tend to her right now. So many bright ideas were about to be lost. So many inventions she left unfinished in her hometown. Perhaps in another life, she was welcome to join the Sex Commonwealth and get to know these people with a bottle of home-brewed beer. But no, if this is a story with a happy ending, neither she was the main character. The last minute of Bucky's life were spent naked, choking with her own blood. In the meantime, the Sex Commonwealth had not been doing so well either. As Skye was finally able to rest, Entwistle was running for his life from an angry lynx, desiring his blood. Sparkles rushed to help her soon-to-be husband with the revolver, but her accuracy remained to be worse than desirable. However, together they managed to come up with a tactic to defeat the beast. Finally, as the lynx was becoming progressively angrier, it switched its attention towards Sparkles. Since Entwistle was incapable of violence, she had to act on her own. Now, when the lynx could quickly catch up to her, she ran for the colony knife to finish it off in a melee fight. Honestly, it went worse than expected. The wounds of the beast were the primary factor of how the hell Entwistle managed to grab Sparkles and drag her into the house in time. Truthfully, the situation was totally not under control, but now that he managed to patch her up and stop the bleeding while the lynx was about to die of it, it seemed to be going relatively well again. Boomalope 2 tamed itself. The colony was progressively becoming less and less explosion-proof. But the troubles were far from over. A raid on the colony had finally been organized, and all while the two people capable of any violence were either incapacitated or far from home. Under most circumstances, a single raider with an axe would not be a problem, but at this moment it could be enough to destroy the entire colony. Randy was not about to stop, and a mad raccoon unit had been dispatched to ensure the complete colony's destruction. After finishing his medical work with Sparkles, Entwistle contacted Skye through his transmitter. He notified her about everything that had been going on in the Sex Commonwealth and asked her to return, because they were no longer able to protect themselves. It was a difficult choice. Debans was still incapacitated, and together they would not be able to return to the colony in time. With a sorrow in the heart, Skye had to abandon him in his sleep to return home as quickly as possible. She had hoped he would be able to survive with the medical assistance she provided, but deep down she understood that it was almost impossible. Debans was officially no longer a citizen of the Sex Commonwealth. The raccoon was already running rampant around the colony when Dolly approached. Not noticing the wild animal, she immediately engaged Boomalope 2. I wish I could see her face when she realized she was surrounded. However, the axe injuries were severe. Entwistle tried running out to assist the Boomalope, but he quickly ran back inside as the mad raccoon charged him. Amidst all of this, it started raining, and the lightning had already ignited the ground. They only could hope the rain would be stronger. Boomalope 2 had no illusions about its fate. It wasn't a friend for long, but without him the colony could have fallen. A selfless hero whom we will never forget, and who even went out the most badass way possible. It was finally over. Entwistle could not believe that all the troubles that Randy sent them this day were over. The raccoon finally calmed down and was now peacefully sleeping by the entrance. Both the lynx and Dolly were dead. The fire provoked by the Boomalope 2's explosion was put out by rain. Perhaps this colony still had a chance after all. Despite everything, life in the Sex Commonwealth resumed. Sparkles and Entwistle had their breakfast and started cleaning the mess that happened previously. They still have not reunited with Skye, but she told them she was on her way home. When she had finally returned to Edinburgh, both Entwistle and Sparkles were expecting to see Debans as well. However, they quickly realized the situation and have not asked a single question about what happened there. And there she was, Sparkles, on the 4th of April 5501, sitting by their usual dining table, smoking a cigar found on the raider's body. She had never been a smoker, but it was a thing that now calmed her nerves after the stress she had experienced in the past few days. Sparkles was sitting there and contemplating what had happened, thinking whether everything was under control, or if they have only survived by the sheer luck In any case, she was glad to see another day.